don't want to hear it today, guys, okay? Oh, nice hair. Where'd you come from? The freak show? Oh, nice hair. Where'd you come from? The circus? There's nothing wrong with the circus! Guys, let's just face it, okay? Let's be honest with ourselves. What's the deal with all this bull crap? What's the deal with the debut album bull crap? It's not real. They're not real anymore. People are so scared to put out their debut album to the point where they'll put out like 5 debut albums, but just call them something else. It's like, oh, this is the project. Oh, this is my EP, my debut EP. But it's like 11 songs. Chance the Rapper literally made 3 albums before his debut albums, but just called the other ones mixtapes, I guess. But why? This is literally an album. It's 14 songs. Acid Rap. It's literally an album. Another 14 songs. Coloring Book. That's an album. Like, these are all albums. All these are albums. But then why is this the debut album? Out of all of those other albums, why is The Big Day the debut album? Do you feel like almost like the overclassification of like, oh, those other ones are mixtapes, like those aren't albums, this is the debut album, almost like shot him in the foot at the end of the day? Because it's like, oh my god, this is like serious, like this is his debut album. If those other ones were just mixtapes, I can't imagine what he's gonna bring into the debut album. And then he puts out The Big Day. On to the next one. Gracie Abrams, Good Riddance. Why is this the debut album? It has 12 songs. Oh, okay. Well, how much does this one have? Oh, 12 songs? Okay. But this one's an EP? Why is that? I do the same thing. I literally do the same thing. I put out an EP like 2 years ago, 4 songs. And then I just put out another EP, but I'm calling this one the debut EP. Why? Because I can. Because the other one sucked. Part of me feels like it's like the label or the team or whatever almost wants the debut to like explode and have this explosive moment, because wouldn't that just be so cool? And it's not even out of reach. Like Olivia Rodrigo's debut album was like the album of that year. It's that was actually her debut album. So it's like not totally out of scope for your debut album to have this massive moment and totally catapult your career. But if your debut album's kind of a flop, then that's just like lame. Or does it literally like boil down to, oh, well, these were made in my house and then I got signed to a label and then this is the first album under this label? Is it literally just plain and simple like that? What's an album? What's the debut album versus the debut studio album? Where the hell did you make the other one? Also, okay, maybe we should look up what an EP is. EP stands for extended play. An EP is effectively a mini album. It's a collection of songs that runs shorter than a traditional album but is longer than a double-sided single. They traditionally have a track list between 3 to 6 songs with a runtime under 30 minutes. So it's like, okay, but Gracie Abrams' like 40-minute, 12-song project is an EP. Why is that not the debut album? Maybe there's just more pressure put on artists where it's like, oh, you want this debut album to be like your moment. You can only do your debut album once, right? That's the point. It's your debut album. So you want to make sure you do it right and it's like fully representative of who you are as an artist and that it ages well over time and that maybe a couple years from now you're not embarrassed of your debut album. Or maybe it's a legality thing. Maybe it's more of a business thing than we think. You know, it's like maybe the artist puts out a EP that's 11 songs because they don't want that to count towards the label deal that they have. That's like, oh, you have to do 6 albums with this label for you to complete the term, you know? Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the label wants to call it like a mixtape so that it doesn't count towards the deal they have with the artist because they want to keep the artist under their wing for longer. This literally just happened to Megan Thee Stallion like last year. She put out this album. It's like literally 45 minutes long. It has so many songs on it, like 20 songs. And she has this album deal with this label. It's like, oh, once you make this amount of albums under our label, then you're free to go. But she just put out an album and they were like, oh, no, this is a mixtape, actually. This isn't an album. This is a mixtape. So all that work you just did to make this album doesn't count. Like, it's as if you didn't do anything and you still have to complete X amount of albums to get out of our deal. What? Why? It's 45 minutes. People are putting out 11, like, dude, it's an album. It's an album. It's interesting though, because is there even a concrete definition of what an album is? Or is it from record deal to record deal? Like here it says in the lawsuit filed by Megan's lawyers, it says Something for the Hotties clearly meets the definition of album under the recording agreement because it's not less than 45 minutes in length. Oh, so an album has to be 45 minutes long. Is it less of like a how many songs there are and more of like a how long is this body of work for it to be an album? You know what would probably be smart? Like if I'm gonna make a video on this, to maybe Google like what is an album. According to TuneCore, it's like, oh, it's a single if it's 1 to 3 tracks or the entire release is 30 minutes or less. Okay, so something is a single if it's less than 30 minutes? That's like every album right now. It's like, does that mean that Whack World is a single? Because all those songs are like a minute long. That album is like 10 minutes. So it says this is an album. It's 15 songs, 15 minutes. Like, does it even matter anymore? Does a debut album even matter anymore when everyone's putting out like 5 debut albums, but just calling them something else? I get it. I feel like there's more pressure now than ever to put out something good because the market's never been so oversaturated with musicians, especially like people who are trying to just promote themselves in the same ways. But at the same time, I feel like now more than ever, maybe there's not as much pressure to put out the debut album. Everyone's doing it. They're just calling it other things. You can put out your debut album. Like, it's like, here's the thing. If you're scared to put out your debut album because it's like, oh, there's so much pressure in putting out the debut album, I need to make sure that it's just perfect. It's just right before I put it out. I can't, have something come out that I'm not proud of in a couple of years and that's my debut album. Well, guess what? Okay, call it something else. Cool, it's your project. It's your EP. You can do that, guys. Nothing matters. Why isn't everything the debut? What? I can't reinvent myself? What's a debut? Let's look at the linguistics of it. A person's first appearance or performance in a particular capacity. Thank you. I like that. I like this new rule, actually. Going into this video, I wasn't sure how I felt about all this bull crap. It's like, it just seems like a bunch of bull crap. Everyone's too scared to like admit what it really is. It's a debut album. Who cares? Just do it. But now I'm just like, I kind of like this. I kind of like this new rule where it's like everything's a debut. Will it become a Boy Who Cried Wolf situation of like, oh, this one's not my debut. Oh, this was my debut. And then no one takes me seriously. No one takes anyone seriously. We're all just a bunch of jokes. That's all this is. It's just jokes. I don't know. Maybe for the nerds, but like at least for the average person, it's like, who cares? And no one's talking about it. When I'm trying to Google, like, why isn't anyone putting out their debut album anymore? Everyone's just calling everything else. No one's talking about it. How do you even write about that? Closest thing I can find to a discussion on this topic is this. Is it still a debut album if you ever released an EP? Yes. The word debut means the first appearance. So you can have a debut album and a debut single or EP. It would just mean the first album or first EP. The word itself doesn't mean anything other than that. So simply saying first album or first EP is the same thing. So according to Ryan Sullivan, the head mixing and mastering engineer, head of what? I don't know, all of them, I guess. He says that when promoting your work, being the debut or first release is actually off-putting to many potential fans and the media. So I would avoid using that terminology. So maybe this is why people aren't calling things the debut EP, the debut album, and they're just calling it other stuff. Wait, no, that's not the point I'm making. I'm saying everything is the debut, or nothing is. Oh, I'm so confused. So Ryan Sullivan, he must know what he's talking about because he's head of it all. He's head of all the mixing. He's head of all the mastering. Drake reports to him. He says, don't call it the debut EP. Don't call it the debut album because the media is going to not take you seriously. They're going to think that you're an amateur. They're going to think you're a rookie. Are you a rookie? Do you guys have any opinions on this bullcrap? Have you guys been thinking about this? Am I the only one thinking about this? What artists do you know of that like you've seen put out like, oh, this is my project. Oh, this is my album. Like, where have you seen this happen? Am I just going crazy or have you seen this happen too? So thank you guys for watching, okay? If you like this video, leave it a like or something. Subscribe to this channel. We have fun over here. Let me know what you want me to talk about next, okay? I'm going to try to upload more often on here, just come on here, just stumble in, roll out of bed, talk my bull crap, put it together with a nice bow, and then just leave and then move on to the next one. I love when I do that. Also, a couple more things. Guys, I have merch online. I just went on tour with Half Alive. I have a bunch of leftover merch and it's freaking awesome. So if you couldn't make it to any of those shows, but you would like to support, it would mean a lot to me if you check out my merch. It's really nice. But also, if you do want to see me live, well, guess what? I'm going on tour again. Co-headliner with Jordana. It's going to be so fun. So tickets and links to merch are down below. If you do want to check out my debut EP, also link that down there too. I'm really proud of it, actually. Okay, that's why. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. It really does mean a lot to me. I know I just scream and yell and I'm just so crass. But on a serious note, it really means a lot that you would click on this video and that you're even watching till this point. The video's over. You don't have to keep watching, but you are. And I really appreciate that. So thank you. And I'll see you again in a couple days.